Hi and welcome to Tall Guy Rides, and in today's video I'm going to talk about my experience riding the Goldstar 650 from BSA. Now, as most of you know, the BSA Goldstar hails back to an earlier period of motorcycling where probably our grandfathers and fathers, when they were much younger, used to ride these motorcycles, and it's quite a bit of a legend. In fact, when I had my Thunderbird 500 about 6 years or so back, it used to have a AEW Goldstar exhaust, and that Goldstar comes from the brand Goldstar, which is the bike that I rode recently. Usually, I do these sort of videos on the fly where I'm giving my first impressions and the ergonomic review of the bike. But on the day where I was test riding this bike, it was raining quite heavily, and I did not feel like exposing my the media mod and my GoPro to that kind of water damage. So I'm just capturing my thoughts post the ride. And with that, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the handlebars first. The handlebars were set fairly tall for a roadster, and it gave a very nice, upright, and commanding and powerful position on the bike. Uh, on the Interceptor, the handlebar I feel is set a little bit too low, but on the Goldstar it just feels right. And this was one of the few naked bikes where I felt that the handlebar position is just right without the use of handlebar risers. So that is one big positive for us taller riders in that space, and it also is positioned at an adequate distance from the rider so that your arms are not bent uh, too much, too close, but they're not too far stretched forward as well. So for me, I felt that this was a very, very comfortable arm, shoulder position on the bike, and I rode it for about 20-30 minutes, and I did not feel anything on my shoulders. So it was overall a very comfortable and commanding position on the bike. Now, talking about the back, there was a very slight bend forward on the back so that I could reach the handlebar at its most comfortable length for my arms. But again, this was not something that is a point of concern. In fact, it added to that strong and commanding presence that I felt while I was riding the bike. So it felt really good, and it kind of synergize with the handlebar position, height, etc. very, very well. Now moving down to the knees were bent at an inward but a very comfortable inward angle, and both the rear brake and the gear levers were at the right place, and they're nice and wide. In fact, you will be able to see here in the clip that the gear lever is the rear brake pedal is much larger and in such a nice position as compared to the Interceptor. So both the levers were within comfortable reach. The foot pegs are also nice and comfortable, so no issues there from a tall rider perspective. And now let's talk about the tank. The tank is also nice and wide. I was able to grip it very easily with my thighs. However, since the tank is made out of chrome, it might be subject to lots of scratches and all if you're doing that. So I'm not sure how you would maintain the bike if you're actively gripping the tank as you probably should. Perhaps we can add some accessory tank pads which usually look very nice on the Interceptor. Those can be added to protect the tank a little bit better from wear and tear from the damage and scratches over there. And now we'll talk also about the mirrors. I think overall the weakest point on the bike I felt was the mirrors, because they were just too short. The stems of the mirrors were just too short, The handlebar is nice and wide, and the mirror stems don't even extend towards the outside of the handlebar where you're gripping the bars. So really short. I was not able to see almost nothing of what was behind me. So that's something that people will need to take into consideration. Maybe third party mirrors or any other mod for mirrors might be required in that sense. Now let's talk about the general impressions about the bike. The bike felt really smooth for a 650cc single cylinder bike. Nice thrum, characterful, but not annoying in any way. In fact, it sounded much sweeter than and it felt much more refined than even the Himalayan 450 and the other 350s right now which are there in the range. And across the rev band and at the higher end, the engine becomes even more refined somehow. So it feels much nicer in that sense. And in the lower rev range, it does have a nice thump because it is a 650 single, and it has that character of a old feeling bike in the lower revs. But it does rev out well, and it's an interesting feeling when you start picking up the pace on the bike. Now, with the that said, the bike also has very good stopping power. In fact, the front brakes are Brembos, not Bibri. They are actual Brembos. So the bite and feel is really good, really strong front brake setup, and the rear felt adequate as well. I couldn't complain on the rear brakes, so it felt just good enough. And nice and smooth and light feeling clutch. The gear box was also very nice. Going up and down in the gears. I think from neutral to first was a bit clunky, but on the move the gearing and the gearbox smoothness was really good. The bike also felt very well balanced, even though it is a slightly heavy bike, and feels nicely poised. So even when you're going at a quick pace, the bike doesn't feel that it's getting unsettled with the speed. And the suspension, that is also one key element. The suspension is good enough for your usual speed breakers and small undulations on the road, but I think if you hit something a bit bigger, like a big pothole or something, then you will feel that on your bum and on your lower back. So that's something that you will have to take into consideration. The suspensions are good for the category of bike it is. And what are some of the weak points? Let me talk about the weak points, which is for a old retro look feel wala bike, it doesn't sound the best. It just doesn't have that the thump in the exhaust note side of things. The vibes feel really good, but that exhaust note could have been a little bit louder, a little bit bassier. So that's something that was immediately apparent between the Interceptor and this, where the Interceptor with the twin cylinder engine just has a very lovely roar that goes out. And yeah, again the mirrors are pretty bad. If you buy the bike, you will need to change the mirrors. And also, well, not a negative, but something which is unusual is the speedo. So usually the speedos start at 0 and then they climb like this, right? So in this the speedo is inverted, so it starts here and then it rotates all the way up. So I guess that's something that is reminiscent of the design from older motorcycles. And the dash is like a twin pod setup, and it reminds me a lot of the Triumph Bonneville series, where you have the turn indicator, neutral gauge, etc. in the middle. So there's like two circles, and there's like a V in the middle, which also has your LED lights or whatever the indicators that are there, and you're able to have a good look at the console. The console is really nice. I like it. It matches the retro vibe of the bike, and it doesn't give you too much information. Just the speed, the rev count, and your turn indicators, and your neutral, and if the lights are on and off. So that's about it. Well, this was just a very quick ergonomic and general impressions video of the BSA Goldstar. If you guys support the channel, then I will be able to get the bike for a slightly longer ride, hopefully. So please go ahead and support the channel, like, share, subscribe, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments or reach out to me on Instagram. I'm more easily available to connect over there. That said, ride safe, stay safe. Cheers.